Ladies and gentlemen, what a vista behind him. Tom Pelissero joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show.
What the settlement, I'm told, includes is that Brendan Sorsby is eligible for the 2027 NFL Draft. There will be no further punishment for any known prior incident.
Tom Pelissero joined Rich Eisen and turned one interview into a full NFL pressure map. This was not just about one quarterback. It was about teams trying to decide how much risk they can take before training camp. Brendan Sorsby is trying to enter the league through a messy path. The Browns are still stuck in quarterback chaos. The Rams are going all in after the Myles Garrett trade. The Bucs have a Baker Mayfield contract problem, and the Vikings are sitting in the middle of another quarterback conversation. That is why this interview matters. It shows how one summer can change the direction of multiple franchises. The first thing that jumps out is Brendan Sorsby. His situation is not normal. This is not a clean draft story. This is not a quarterback simply leaving school and waiting for a team to call. This has legal layers, NCAA layers, NFL rules, supplemental draft questions, and even possible discipline once he enters the league. Pelissero explained why teams have to look at the talent and the baggage at the same time. That is what makes Sorsby one of the strangest quarterback stories of the offseason.
It was a complicated process that went on for a while. It was the NFL and the NFL Players Association and Brendan Sorsby came to a settlement. It was not strictly, all right, you know what, I'm not going to sue. It was more complicated.
That is where the risk begins. If you are an NFL team, you are not just asking whether Sorsby can play. You are asking whether he's worth spending future draft capital on. Supplemental draft picks are not free. If you use a pick, you lose that same round pick in the next draft. So if a team considers using a third or fourth rounder, it better believe Sorsby is more than a camp arm. It better believe he can become real. And this is why the Browns naturally enter the conversation. Cleveland already has a crowded quarterback room. Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Taylon Green. That is a lot of bodies. That is a lot of reps to divide. So if Sorsby's name gets connected to the Browns, the immediate question becomes obvious. Why would Cleveland add another quarterback when it still has not solved the current battle?
The outcome of this is that he's not going to pursue any further legal wrangling. But what his team and the union wanted to make sure, we had JC Treader on last week, Rich, while you were out. We talked through some of this. They never want to see precedents set. And so what you want to have is everything clearly in writing, any claims that would have resulted from the NFL's decision to not hold a supplemental draft.
That is the part that makes the Browns situation so interesting. The Browns are not just evaluating quarterbacks, they are evaluating uncertainty. Watson still has to prove he can hold the job. Shedeur has been gaining momentum. Gabriel has his own supporters. Green is a developmental piece. Adding Sorsby would only make sense if Cleveland believed he was better than one of those projects. Otherwise, it becomes noise. And Pelissero has already pushed back on some of the noise around Shedeur. When trade rumors started moving, he basically shut them down. His read was that there is no real reason to believe Cleveland is looking to move Shedeur right now. That matters, because if the Browns are still trying to find out what they have in Shedeur, adding or chasing another quarterback makes less sense, unless the organization is truly unhappy with the room.
Over a bunch of other things, all these are part of the broader issue here, which is that this is a guy who, bottom line, whatever he thinks he's worth, that he's laughed at the money and thrown money around his closet. I've watched all the videos, Rich. He's not going to get any money. Okay, there's not a market for Brandon Ayuk. Yes, there's a flyer. He's been a very talented player, and maybe you bring him in.
That is the cleanest Browns takeaway. Do not overreact to every rumor. The Browns need answers. They need camp. They need reps. They need to see who can actually run the offense. Shedeur is not a throwaway piece. Watson is not automatically safe, and Sorsby is not some magic fix. Cleveland's quarterback story is still open. That is why every Pelissero report around the Browns matters. He's cutting through the panic. Then the interview shifts to the Rams, and that story is much simpler. The Rams are not pretending to be patient. They traded for Myles Garrett. That means they are chasing a Super Bowl now. Pelissero has talked about how aggressive the Rams have been. This is not a rebuild. This is not a slow build. This is a team looking at Matthew Stafford's window and saying, we are going for it.
From the Rams' perspective, it starts out with Myles Garrett. Does he help you win a Super Bowl this year? If he doesn't, this season is a disappointment. Make no doubt about that.
That is why the Garrett trade changes everything. The Rams gave up a major young player in Jared Verse and future picks to get a proven superstar. Pelissero has explained that Cleveland wanted Verse badly, and that Verse was the piece that made the trade feel real for the Browns. But for the Rams, the message is even louder. They believe Garrett can be the difference between being dangerous and being championship level.
I thought the value they got for Myles Garrett was very good. It's not, you didn't have 8 different teams who were willing to be in on a trade like that. They really had one team that was there.
On one side, Los Angeles gets the superstar. On the other side, Cleveland gets younger and resets part of the defense. Pelissero's point is that the value depends on what you think Jared Verse is. If Verse becomes a star, the Browns can defend the move. If Garrett wins a Super Bowl in Los Angeles, the Rams will not care what they gave up. That is how these trades work. Both teams are betting on different clocks. Then there is Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield is in a different kind of pressure story. He revived his career with the Bucs. He became the leader. He played his way into real money. But now the contract question is hanging over the franchise. Pelissero has discussed the possible timeline for a Baker extension, and Mayfield has made it clear the talks have not been close enough yet. That turns the Bucs into another team with a quarterback decision that cannot be ignored.
It was substantial money for Baker Mayfield, but if you look at the current landscape, Rich, of quarterback contracts, half the league's quarterbacks are paid like franchise quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield right now, an average per year, ranks 16th at $33 million and change per year. After that, there's this huge drop-off to the 17th ranked quarterback, which is Malik Willis at $22.5. In other words, of the franchise quarterback contracts, Baker Mayfield is at the bottom.
That Bucs section matters because Baker's story is not just about money, it is about belief. Does Tampa believe he is the long-term answer? Does Baker believe the team is valuing him correctly? Can the Bucs afford to wait? If talks drag into training camp, the season becomes uncomfortable. Baker has already said he wants the issue settled before camp. If it is not, the Bucs may be playing a full year with their quarterback's future hanging over everything. And then Rich and Pelissero touch the Vikings side of the league. Minnesota's quarterback conversation is different from Cleveland's and Tampa's, but it still carries the same theme. Quarterback uncertainty changes the whole building. Whether it's a young passer trying to win trust, a veteran trying to hold the job, or a front office trying to decide how much to spend, every team is living through some version of the same stress.
But Kevin O'Connell and that coaching staff wanted to go in with an open mind because this is not just about 2026. And yes, they have high standards, high expectations for 2026, but it's also about trying to put together the puzzle pieces on something that the Vikings haven't solved probably since Dante Culpepper, which is who can actually be the long-term solution at the quarterback position.
It is not only about Sorsby, it is about how NFL teams make decisions when the answer is not clean. Sorsby has talent but baggage. The Browns have options but no final QB1. The Rams have ambition but massive pressure. The Bucs have Baker but no final long-term deal. The Vikings have their own quarterback questions. Every team is trying to balance risk and timing. Pelissero's value in this interview is that he does not treat every rumor like a fact. He adds context. He explains why teams might call, why they might not, why a trade makes sense, why a draft move is expensive, why a quarterback decision can drag out longer than fans want. That is what insiders are supposed to do. The biggest takeaway is simple. The NFL is not waiting for September. The moves are already happening, and the pressure is already building. Sorsby wants into the league. The Browns still need a quarterback answer. The Rams are chasing a ring. The Bucs have to decide what Baker is worth. And the Vikings are still part of the bigger quarterback conversation. Training camp will give us the next clues. But Pelissero's interview already showed the truth. Some teams are building. Some teams are betting. Some teams are panicking quietly. And some teams are one quarterback decision away from changing their whole season.